Hey guys, got a video today aimed at our redemptive gifts study here at the church. That's what we're going through, the redemptive gifts, teaching through those things. And as I develop this more and more, um, the whole purpose is that we would understand ourselves, that we'd have an understanding of our unique design and how God made us, and how to flow with that, how to function in that with Him and then with everybody else. So we're going vertical and horizontal so that we get greater strength in the body. And so one of the things that I'm going to begin to do and put videos up for this is blessings for each redemptive gift. Now, prophet is first, and not only is it first, but the guy who's mentored me the most in this teaching uh, is a prophet himself. And so I think because of that, he uniquely understands what's coming against the prophet and what is so difficult for the prophet. And he knows himself so well that he's got a wealth of material out on on the prophet and how to bless a prophet, probably because he wanted and needed the blessing. And so I've actually got 12 of these that I'm going to do. Now, again, the purpose of this is that we would kind of get breath. You know, lots of times when we are living, the metaphor is like we're not getting enough breath. We're kind of scared. We're all afraid. And because of that, we get into this shallow breathing. It's almost panic breathing, like, you're getting just upper chest breath and you're not getting enough oxygen. You're thinking from uh, a less advanced portion of your brain, and therefore your genius brain, which is that forefront of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, you're not even thinking with your genius brain. You're thinking in more of a fight or flight section of your brain, which is not good. You're not going to make great choices. In other words, what we all need is to rest. We need to know that we're valuable, that we're valued by those around us, that we're loved, and that it's going to be okay. And that's what God the Father has to say to all of us. Of course, in our own unique design, we might need to hear it in a different nuance. But these blessings that I have to offer are nuanced beautifully for the wiring and the design of prophets. And so I'm just speaking a blessing. I didn't write this, so this is giving me the opportunity that if I could sit down with each one of you personally and kind of get you into a space of opening up your heart and letting your guard down and allowing me to speak into a deep place into your heart. Hopefully you guys, and the ones especially that I'm sending this to, because you prophets that I know of, the redemptive gift of prophet, I should add, that I know that are in my church circle, um, hopefully I have a relationship with you that is strong enough that you trust my input and that you would allow me to speak to you on in this deep of a way. And I pray that's the case. And if it's not the case, I pray that we can get there some point, because we all need people to be able to speak deeply into our lives, to give us breath and to help us get into rest so that we can just get into harmony with what God's doing in us and through us, and we can get into harmony to those around us. Uh, there are some unique things coming against the prophet. And so those are the things that I want to help you with. A couple of those things are, as it's been said in the teaching, prophets they deal with more pain than the other. They run into more confrontations that end up in pain, I should say, more than the others because of the phos. Remember that first day of creation? The light that has come, the light that is the life. Um, that's the glory of God coming. That's what you guys represent. You're shining forth, and you're doers. You're out there doing. You're out there going. You're driven to truth and then implementing truth. You're seeing things that need to be done, and you're driven to do it. And because of that, you run into a lot of obstacles that are in the way of what you see needs to be done. And so there's timing issues that you deal with. You guys really take the pruning that comes from our great Father. He prunes us all back, regardless of who we are. But the timing essence is a big deal for God and His people, and especially for prophets, because you guys are ready to go get it all done all at once, and obviously that can't be done. There's a timing for things, and so, in other words, life can be really difficult in terms of all the things you're colliding with, and so that's a design issue, and you're made that way, and we bless you in doing that and being that way. However, all of us have to find that harmony and the timing of the Lord. Think about this, prophets. Jesus is a prophet par excellence, okay, as he is all the redemptive gifts. We can use Jesus as the prototype because he is all of those things. He's not limited by any of the seven. He is all of those and more. So Jesus as a prophet, when we see him in his earthly life, think about this prophet in terms of timing. I think one of the most difficult things for Jesus as a prophet living in this time frame when he was alive was the timing factor of the Father. Okay, let's say, and I'm going to say and do believe that at 12 years old, Jesus he understood enough about God and about the world and about himself and about his assignment to get the job done. And I think that's why when we see him, in the temple, talking with all of those masters, the rabbis, and they were stunned at all that he knew, all the questions that he could ask, which that was a mark of his, capacity and what his wisdom, what he understood. They were marveled at him. And I think it was, in essence, Jesus was saying to the world, hey, I'm ready to get this thing done. Father, can we get this thing done? And the Father tells him no. He tells him to go back home, to submit himself to his mom and his dad, to go ahead and live out those formative years of his life in a humdrum. Even Jesus was having to go. It says that he frequented Sabbath. He went to church and he listened to rabbis give interpretations on Torah that he knew weren't accurate. They didn't have it right, but yet he submitted himself. And that must have been agonizing in a certain sense, that Jesus was having to submit to things as they were when he knew better. He knew this and that and everything else was not right. This is not right. Think about that, prophet, because I know that's what you guys see. You see things. You see way too much even. And it's not right. And truth's not being implemented. And that's a very frustrating thing to be able to live through. And so really finding the rhythm of God that is you enjoying the Father in this slice of time that you're caught in. Because see, there's more going on than just what's going on in your heart. There's a complementary amount of things that need to come together, and you're a huge part of that, prophet. But it's as if when I picture the prophet, I see God, if you were a horse and you're galloping forth, man, you're ready to get into the fray, into the battle, and Jesus as that master rider is, pulling back the reins and saying, whoa, 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 whoa. I need you to learn meekness. That's power under control. That's that Greek term of meekness is it means power under control. And the metaphor of the horse, the war horse, is actually used in that Greek word meekness. That a Greek war horse was considered meek when that war horse would not move until his master had him move. In other words, he was raring to go for the battle, but on the battle line he would stay there until his master told him to go in. And so timing for the prophet is a big deal, and pruning and being pruned back so that God can produce more budding sites in you is also something that he's doing with all of us, and that's more painful for the prophet than for anybody, I believe. So I want to bless you today to give you breath, to give you rest, to let you know you're valuable, not for what you do primarily. You're valuable because God calls you valuable. He says you're His son and daughter, son or daughter, and you're valuable to Him, not for anything you do. Now, you are called to do a lot, and we need you to do it. But primarily, the rest comes when we all would hear from the Father, you are just valuable just because I say so. And just live in my love. And let me give you rest today. So this blessing is aimed at you prophets to, and again, I'll say this for Jesus. So Jesus had to take that word from God the Father that says it's not time. I know you think it's time. I know you could get the job done if you were released to do it, but there's more going on here. For instance, one of those things, there's a lot of things, but one of those things that Jesus, that it was not time for, was that his cousin John, who was prophesied to, whose ministry would lead the way before Jesus's. John's ministry was he was that voice in the wilderness to cry out. He was to precede the coming of Christ in his ministry. And John was not ready. Jesus may have been ready at 12 years old. John was not ready at 12 years old. And so, if nothing else, and if we were just going to look at one facet, Jesus had to submit to the Father's timing for John's timing, for John to be able to be developed and be prepared and then to be launched into what he's called to do, so that then Jesus could follow in line with what in God the Father's timing. And so you prophets understand or be reminded that there are other people that are to complement you in the bigger picture that have to be prepared as well. And so Jesus did that perfectly as a prophet. He just submitted to the Father. And, at the end of the day, Jesus was saying to the world, I just want to be wherever the Father is. I want to be doing whatever He's doing. My value comes from Him. I get my word from Him. I get my timing from Him. And when I'm in time with the Father, I'm in my place of fulfillment. And so prophets understand that's where you are as well. So know the Father loves you. He speaks blessings over you. And this is just a nuance of this blessing that if you'll just sit and receive it, it's going to scratch an itch deep inside of your heart. It's going to give you rest. And it's also going to bless you and give you a fuller look at how you're designed. And so it's a beautiful blessing designed for you. And so this is my gift to you today. There's 12 of these. So as the days go on, I'm going to be giving more and more of these that you can just call up at any time and listen. You can kind of go forward through all of this that I just gave you. I've already talked 13 minutes. I'm sorry. Anyway, this first one's given some context for you. The ones that precede this will be just straight blessings, okay? Because you'll know what I'm doing, and you'll just be able to plug it in, listen to the blessing, and hopefully be ministered to deeply. So, God, I'm praying that your voice would come through my voice and minister to your prophet, sons and daughters, in a powerful way that will bless them and help them and strengthen them today, and just give them breath, give them oxygen to breathe deeply and to live wholeheartedly in what you've called them to today. Because there's enough trouble in today. There's enough trouble in this day to give ourselves to, is what the Scripture says. So, okay, prophets, listen up. I want to bless your spirit. So just open up your heart and receive these words and let these words minister to you. So, beloved, I call your spirit to attention. And I invite the prophet portion to come explore God's gift to you. Prophet, the first day of creation contains vast truths about your intrinsic design. Come with me as we stand together and watch history begin. The playing field for discovering your essence is a place described as formless, empty, dark, and deep. Besides the fact that this space is utterly uninviting, there is a complete lack of building blocks evident. Think about it. Suppose you were given a truckload of formlessness, a freight train of emptiness, a century of darkness, and an immeasurable amount of deepness, and you're instructed to build a masterpiece. What would you build with those resources? But this is the majesty of your essence, prophet, because you don't use those resources to build. They are merely the playing field. Watch closely as the Creator God gives you your first lesson in how to walk out your identity. First of all, He comes into the formless, empty, dark, and deep. He is utterly unmoved, unintimidated, and unscathed by the sterile, hostile environment. And this is the first gift of Himself to you. You, prophet, were designed by Him to move toward devastation and to find your finest hour in barren chaos. I bless you, prophet, with receiving the full measure of the nature of God, which causes you to move toward the unspeakable instead of seeking comfort and abundance. Then God moved with the power and grace of an eagle through this place where there was no form, no direction, no passageway. Eagles don't need anyone to make a way for them through any space or any storm. This is God's second gift of Himself to you, prophet. You were designed to move boldly with power where there's no way, and only obstructions, where no one has gone before, and many say no one can go. I bless you to move with grace and power through uncharted, deep darkness, because you are designed to do so by God. Finally, God drew from the infinite resources of His own creativity to envision a world that was not. The building blocks for this new world came from His own nature, not from the formless emptiness He looked at. In that amazing moment when time and space began, He spoke what He had seen in His mind, and it became reality. This is God's third major gift to you, prophet. The building blocks for what you will do in life exist in His mind, not in the world around you. From the abundance of His nature, God has filled you with the ability to see His realities in places where they have never been seen before. This is your essence, drawn from His essence. You are made to see His realities when no one else can. I bless you, prophet, with the exquisite joy of seeing God's reality and speaking it into a world that does not know it, as the first step in the body of Christ, making it reality. Prophet, you are extravagantly wealthy, and it's right that you be so. As the first of the 7 redemptive gifts, you reflect the God who made you from His light. You are drawn to the formless, empty, dark places in this world. You move purposefully where there is no passage, and you see through the eyes of God what should be, but as not yet. Then you speak, and the process of God invading deep darkness begins all over again through you. This is good, prophet. We, the people of God, celebrate that He made you and that He graced you with such great gifts. We need you. We make room for your power and purposefulness to be lived out in our deep places. We bless you and your treasures, prophet. May you thrive in our midst and find enough empty, formless places to manifest the immensity of the gift of God in you. Welcome in our midst, prophet. You are most welcome among us. We bless you in the name of our King, Jesus Christ. And so, prophets, I want you to know we need you. We love you. We're creating an environment here in which you can understand yourself and those around you can understand you as well, so that you're putting your best foot forward and so that we're covering you. We need ultimately for all of us to find where we fit into one another so that we're a blessing and so that we strengthen one another. You know, one of the words for the Holy Spirit is the paraclete, and the paraclete was a Greek or a Roman soldier term, maybe a Greek soldier term as well, where they were back to back. They fought back to back so that they had one another's back. And so my prayer for you, prophet, is that you find the people who are encouraging, building, blessing, you and your life and your ministry, and they have your back at the same time. That's what my heart is, to create an environment in which you find that and you click into place, and the beauty that God made you to be would shine forth in a way that we all see more light. And you bring the answers to the problems that you were created to bring. That's a blessing for all of us. And so I'll bless you, Prophet. And there's going to be more of these to come. So bless you today, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.